So now I'm going to write a very basic UI testing code in this class to get started with Serenity. So I'm gonna create a method. Let's say public void to login, and on top of this method, I'm gonna add an annotation that is @test. This is the same thing that we do with our TestNG framework as well, right? So if you mouse over on this, you actually need to import this annotation using JUnit. So just click on this and import it using the JUnit test, right? So then we're gonna define WebDriver over here. We'll say WebDriver driver import, and then we're gonna say driver dot get, and let's say I navigate to any website, http google.com, and then I'll say driver dot find element by dot name. It's a very basic test. What I'm doing is I am actually going to enter some value in the search field. So here I'm gonna say dot send keys, and I'm gonna type hello Serenity. Right, so this should be very first test. And now on top of it, I'm gonna add one additional annotation provided by Serenity, that is @managed, and this has to be imported using the Serenity. This is basically thucydides.co.annotations. So Thucydides is the name which was previously assigned to this project. Now we know it with the name as Serenity, right? So both are the same thing. So then the test will still not gonna work because we need to define which browser that we are going to invoke. We need to have the browser executable available. That is the same process that if you have ever worked on Selenium, you must be knowing that for Firefox you need an API called as gecko driver exe file, which is provided by a Firefox vendor, so that your code should be able to communicate with the browser, right, via that particular API. And same thing is required for Chrome. So Google, they provide Chrome driver executable file. So based on your browser, you need to download those executables. So I'll be following all this step-by-step information, but these are some of the things how you're going to define it in the Serenity framework. You'll directly not be giving it over here. You need one properties file, which we are going to create it at the root of our project. So I'm going to say new, right click on your project, say new, and click on file. And there's a standard name given to it, that is Serenity dot properties. So this is what you should be giving. So Serenity dot properties. The extension should be dot properties. And in this, you'll be defining some properties like Serenity dot project dot name. So you're defining your project name. The same will be shown in your reports. So let's say I name it as way to automation Serenity project. And then we can define the webdriver.base.url. Right over here, if you look, I've already defined the URL, but if I don't give the URL over here, I can give it over here as well. For the timing, I'm gonna comment this part, right? So then I can also define that the webdriver.driver is equal to Chrome or Firefox. So these are all predefined properties, right? There's a huge list of properties, what all things can be defined. I'm going to show you that in some time. But before that, we are trying to give the very basic properties which are required. So then I'll be saying webdriver.chrome.driver. So for Chrome driver, I'm going to give src. And this is basically the path where you are actually keeping the executable file. So in order to invoke Chrome, what you need to do is to go to selenium.dev, the new website of Selenium, and from here you need to go to download, and then you need to search for browsers. Go over here and go to the documentation of Chrome. So here you first need to check your Chrome browser version, because the executable that you need to download should match this browser version. So mine is 80.0.39. So I'll be downloading this executable file. Based on your operating system, you can download it. So I'll download this. Go to open folder, extract here, and this is what I'll be taking, right? This is for the Chrome. And what I'll do, I'll go back over here, and inside the resources, I'm gonna create a new folder over here and name it as drivers. And I'm gonna paste this driver over here. So let's get added over here, right? And same way, in case you want to work on Firefox, you'll again go to the same Selenium website. From the browser, select this Firefox documentation, go to Gecko driver releases, and download this Gecko driver. Make sure you are using a latest browser version itself. So open and extract, and take this Gecko driver and paste it over here. So this is how we'll be getting the latest browser executables. And same path we're gonna provide. We'll say Alt Enter, and we need not to provide the complete path. From this src folder, I can just copy this path and provide it over here. And that's it. So these are the initial stuff that we actually need to do, right? And then you need to go to your class and you need to define a runner over here. So there's an annotation called as run with, and say Serenity runner dot class. So this annotation has to be added using JUnit runner, right? So once you're done with this, just right click on your JUnit, right click on your login test class, run as JUnit test, and see what happens. So it got some exception. Could not instantiate class Chrome driver. So it's not able to find the Chrome driver class. Now the reason of the failure is actually the path for the Chrome driver. It is our code is not able to find where the Chrome driver is located. So instead of giving it like this, we need to add / over here. Otherwise, we need to give it in double \. So this is how. This was the mistake that I did. Now, if I right click over here again and say run as JUnit test, now you're gonna see the browser is launching and it should navigate to google.com and will enter hello Serenity, and then quit. See, the launching and the quitting part, Serenity handle its own. Handle it by its own itself. This is because if you remember, initially I said Serenity follows the approach of end-to-end testing. So in an end-to-end test, what happens is a browser is launched, the execution happens, the browser is closed. The second test, when it has to be executed, again a browser will be launched. All the execution, the test case execution will happen, and the browser will close. Right. So this is what end-to-end testing. So launching and closing of the browser, you need not to explicitly say that quit or launch the browser. Right. That will be handled by Serenity framework itself. All right. And now same way you can run it for Firefox as well. For Firefox, you just need to change the driver to Firefox. This Chrome to Gecko, and this to gecko driver.exe. And now if you run it again, JUnit test, you're going to see Firefox browser launch, navigating to Google, and then quit. Right? So this is how you can run your very first test on a Chrome browser or a Firefox browser using the Serenity framework.